No, you start the stream. Welcome to the Mean Truth.
We are back finally. We have
Cutting
been
loose with all of this.
we have been gone for
excitement.
so long. Oh my gosh, we have to apologize
I'm telling you.
because we
life.
guys, unfortunately, life gets in the way, and we have lots of things going on in life between Steve and myself, and unfortunately, we couldn't get here the last couple weeks. Whether it was he or whether it was I, or back and forth, and really and truly, we don't like to do it by ourselves. We like to have the back and forth and discussion and such. Otherwise, it's just a monologue, us talking to the world, and nobody to give feedback.
We kind of have to give ourselves some term limits. What a transition.
There he is. There he is.
Transition. Yeah, so tonight we're going to kind of cut it up a little bit because there's a lot to laugh at lately in the news with all of the things that you're watching. I'm going insane watching the news. I tell Vicky every night, don't turn on the TV.
I'm telling you, man.
I don't want to watch the TV.
I don't want to know. I mean, because first,
It's sad.
Can you even trust what you're seeing on television?
I'm talking about the conspiracy. Man, you can watch, and it's so bad. It's like you watch one channel, yes, they did. The other channel, no, they didn't. No, yes, they did. No. And it's like, okay, corruption at its finest. I think you could ask any normal person today, and if you showed them what has come out of the Biden scandalous blah, 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 any normal person would say, yep, they did it. And you look him right in the eye and they say, yep, they did it.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's still getting to do it. Yeah.
Yep.
And then you can look at Trump and they say, yep, he did it. And they're still going to pin him to the wall with every court case. But nope, not to the other side.
Trump said some things.
Yeah, I got it, but I mean, they're going to sue him.
But they're gonna try to.
But nobody's going to do that to the other side. Our Republican Party needs to start getting a bunch of lawyers together and start slapping lawsuits.
Well, I think that it is just.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's beyond frustrating.
And I'm tired. Okay, this week was an all-time all. If you should have ever want to vote for term limits, our president walks away from a Congressional Medal of Honor recipient. I don't care what kind of excuse you got. Slap it. He slapped it on him, said, see you later. I'm out of here.
Get out of my face.
A-Town, peace out.
He said, get out of my face.
I'm like,
Come on. If you're honoring him with the medal,
help me.
honor him with your presence.
Yes, please.
You know.
It only took you how long? I need a funny voice, Mark. I need something.
I don't know. I don't have one for you now because now I'm getting angry.
Oh,
I don't want to be angry.
No, I know it.
Here's the thing.
And
I gotta say something before we go
Okay,
anymore.
go ahead. All right.
I want to give a shout out to my buddy Scott.
Scott, in
He
Florida.
became a granddaddy last night. His
Congratulations.
daughter gave birth to a beautiful, beautiful baby girl.
Congratulations.
And I don't know what he's going to be called yet, but I'm asking. I just texted him. Hey, what are you going to be called, man? Is it Grandpa, Grampy, Gramp? What are you going to be?
Peepaw. I'm Peepaw.
I'm Pawpaw. And
I wanted
my
to
dad
be-
was a Pawpaw, but my grandfathers were like granddaddy, grandpa. That was just straight up grandpa back.
My dad's
Old school.
grandpap because his side was always grandpap. My mom's side was pawpaw.
Kathy's were Papa.
Yeah.
Papa. It's a.
I would love to be pawpaw, but my wonderful daughter niece has said peepaw. So
when it goes that way, that's where it goes.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
So, but anyway, congratulations to Scott. Awesome man.
Heck yeah.
I am so happy for you. And welcome to the club.
Yeah. Sorry it took us so long to get back on the air. So,
yeah.
Mark, you wanted to go down this road tonight. You wanted to talk about term limits.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of Scott and I were having a discussion last night, and that, man, it's just, it's something. I mean, what is, first of all, you have to really look at why people want term limits, right? And why, because the people want term limits because they look at things and say, well, they've been in there so long. Well, here's the thing.
And they've profited.
Well, yes, but I mean, beyond that, there's people who are legitimately, I believe, and I see it, and I know some of these people personally, and I don't believe the ones that I know personally are using their position to make money. Okay, they're not doing what we see. The
Biden administration
in the Biden family business. right? We are looking at what we're seeing is, but there are people obviously that do. But let's talk about this term limits, because what does a term limit do? Because there's two sides to that, and I'm not. I understand why people want term limits, but there's a bad side to a term limit. And also, and I understand the argument of, well, the president's term limited, but the president's different. That's the executive. The reason the president was term limited was actually it wasn't term limited in the Constitution until Congress.
That hurt.
Oh, I hate that.
Oh, it hurt. Go ahead.
There's no. Yeah, you're all right.
You saw that live on the show tonight. I sneezed and threw my back out all at the same
I
time.
hate that.
Keep going.
So this is great to Barry.
This one's going to turn it.
There's a funny voice.
This show.
You wanted a funny voice and you produced it.
This show is going south right now. Go ahead.
All right. So anyway.
Yeah.
So with the term limit, so the president was term limited because really out of tradition, giving tipping the hat to George Washington, who said that he should not be king.
That's right.
Right, and he then limited himself to 2 terms because he felt like to go much longer would start having the army would start being becoming more loyal to him and not to the country.
That's right.
And he and you kind of understand that that's what the founding father. That's why he is, of all of the others, he's the one that was president first, and he has what I think that itself is really what has propelled the United States forward to where we are today. Unfortunately, we've taken some steps back in the last 40, 50 years.
So,
but the fact that he established that as a tradition. Now note that Jefferson and Madison, or Adams and Madison, or Adams and Jefferson, Madison, they all could have ran again. Now it's not sure they would have won because one of the rules were a little bit different on elections and things. It was much more about the Electoral College and such. But fast forward, the reason that works is because there is a possibility that the executive could gain such loyalty that you would have it would become very difficult. They could usurp the army into doing their will. I think that was the fear that was going on. And then it wasn't until the 1950s when it was actually made law, because we have had one president that ran for 4 terms, won 4 terms, only served 3.5 or what have you, and that was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So Franklin Roosevelt actually is the one and only president that ran for multiple. Then they.
Who also gave us all the national parks? Who also gave us the?
The national parks came from Theodore Roosevelt, and then FDR gave us all the public works.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, but Theodore Roosevelt was really the one that started the national park system, which is kind of a cool.
Well, so I was going to add to that, but the term limits also help eliminate a little bit of corruption, don't you think? And don't they also help? Make it a little bit harder for interest groups because they're not in the pockets for so long. They got to work at it.
Why can't you just defeat the person? A person is not just automatically reelected.
Have you seen the money?
It's because you don't have good alternatives.
Look at the money it takes to run for an office now.
Well, that's true. The further up the chain you go, that's true. The further up the chain you go, but.
Why should it cost that much money?
Well, but because you have to communicate with so many people over a broad range.
I got it.
But if there's so, here's the thing. Think about what you're saying. There's so many people who want term limits. They can't give $5 to the person, to another candidate.
I got it. You get 300.
They can't go out and knock doors.
33 million people.
So what you're saying is that, well, I can't do it. I don't want to go out and work for somebody. That is the key aspect of it.
I got it.
You have to go work. Now here's the thing. I'm not saying that
I know
everybody
the
that's
work. I
for term,
saw it this last year.
You know, I know. I'm not saying that everybody that wants term limits is doesn't want to go work, doesn't want to participate in that way. But it's usually they're not usually the people who are participating in the system in that way, and we have to educate people on what the system is and how the system works. The reason term limits are a representative, right, only serves 2 years. 2 years. They're not serving 5, 6, 7 years. A senator is 6. A senator is 6. But a representative only spends 2 years in, and one of those years, or at least half of a year, they spend it running for election. And but you have to look at it from this point of view. If you pass a law, if somehow we get 60 senators and 217, I think it's 217, 216, something like that, representatives to vote in favor of term limits for the House and the Senate, what does that do? Right? Okay, well, let's say you can only spend 3 terms, right, as a senator. That's 18 years. Okay? And let's say you can only spend 4 terms as a representative. That's 8 years. Okay? Maybe that's a little lopsided, but anyway, my point is that in 8 years, you may have had a representative that you love, that has represented you well. Now you can't have him. And now you're telling all those people who voted for that person, who was more than 50% of the vote, voted for that person, you're telling them they cannot have the person they want to represent them. You have taken away their right to representation. And that is a slippery slope. And you're doing that only because, well, you can't beat the guy.
That's not what I'm saying.
But that's why term limits exist. That's why people want term limits.
I want term limits, and that guy that has done a great job for that term, they should be grooming the next person that should be following and coming up that should represent and keep going, or there should be some type of.
But that's not the right.
I'm just saying there should be people.
You're only looking at, but I think that is to me. I mean, and again, I don't want to. This is not a personal thing, right? I'm not being personal.
I just think that.
But I think that's. I really think that's not looking at the depth of what a term limit is going to do. I think that yes, if you don't like the person that's running, right, or maybe you do like them and you just think, oh, well, we have to have somebody else. Again, slippery slope. What if the next person is awful, and you're forced to go because this guy can't, and you don't have any choice, and the two people that are running are going to be are out for themselves and not representing you.
That's not a bad argument. That's not a bad argument.
So it's a slippery slope. I'm not I'm not a huge proponent of across the board term limits.
What about age limits?
Age limits. Now that's a story we can get into because we can talk about Mitch. We can talk about Mitch McConnell a little bit today too, if you want. Because a lot of people.
I think that there should be some medical qualification to be able to serve.
Well, I think that. Here's the thing.
Medically qualified to serve
to run.
Yeah.
To run, right?
To run.
So, okay. So, Mitch McConnell, let's look at Mitch McConnell. 2 years ago, there was not a thing wrong with Mitch McConnell when he ran, right? So, it was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, whatever it was. So, there wasn't anything wrong. He was fit as a fiddle. He hadn't had any episodes.
Stoic.
Was completely, had all of his wits about him.
Now he's stoic.
I think he still has his wits about him. I think that right now he's just going through episodes where he's starting to get low blood sugar and these things are starting to really affect him. So, yeah, I see it's hard to say age limit because, well, that's ageist, first of all. I do want wisdom there. We can debate that with.
I agree that time builds character.
Yeah, and so, but I think we can say the same thing about President Biden. President Biden is not always there all the time,
dude.
He has his days, and
I haven't seen him there at all. No.
Well, you see when he's walking away from people, and he's in his own little world sometimes. But Mitch McConnell, they're not too far apart in age. I mean, I think Biden's just a little bit older than he is.
I got it. It's when you have the president of the free world, standing on.
Well, that's debatable now because
Well,
of what's been happening in the world because of what we
but
see.
I'm just saying it's an embarrassment at times when he doesn't know which direction to go, or he looks stoic, and it's laughable.
It is, and I think that we have to understand
That's not a
that
good example.
we've created our own. We've created this nightmare that we're living in these days as a society because we've allowed ourselves to splinter off into everyone's wrong. Nobody's right.
When do you think we'll be united again?
Man, it's going to be tough because no one wants to give up ground because a little bit of ground is could mean the difference of because let me tell you, this is the thing: is the Democratic Party, the Democrat Party, wants to eliminate the Republican Party. They don't want the Republican Party to exist. That's what you see. That's what they say.
That's right.
Because they had a very small liberal wing. I read an article. It might have been in the paper. Somebody in the messenger, and I thought they hit home really nice with this.
Are you talking about this week's article on the left-hand side?
Yeah.
Hand me my paper. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Hey,
so I thought it was
hold on, cheap plug for the messenger again. By the way, Julia Yules is doing a great job over there.
Yeah, Julia was at our meeting tonight.
She is doing some great work.
I don't know, maybe it wasn't Jules.
No, it wasn't from her. No, it was letter to the editor.
Oh no, it was a letter. It wasn't Jules that put the. I'm talking about that was at our meeting tonight.
If you didn't get the
it
paper,
was Jules.
if you didn't get the paper, go get the paper. It's submitted by Anonymous, and it's on page A4.
Was it anonymous? I thought there was somebody on.
No, there's Anonymous. If you're talking about the one noted revamped messenger and inclusion of submitted articles.
No. There's another article there in there.
If it's this one, it's the one. It's right.
No,
there.
I think it's the one below it. The one below it. I think. What does that say?
That one's by John Clower, but that one is.
That's it.
Include authors writing under the pen name or syndicated name. He's talking about people should tell who they are when they write.
Yeah, but I think you go on. There's
he does. He talks about Bellamy was a closet socialist and believer.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the one you're talking about.
Yeah. And
so then hold on. Credit to the article writer John Clower. Wrote letter to the editor, page A4. Check it out in the messenger. But it's a great article. Mark, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah. So what is?
He was talking about socialism and.
Because they were talking about. Because there's a little bit of. There's actually a little bit of some history here, right? Because let's see. He was talking about. I'm trying to remember the party. Because he talks about Bellamy was a closet socialist, a believer in communitarianism, which is associated to communism in a way. But they had and it was a member of the 19th Century Populist Party, right? Which is basically a socialist party per se. It was per se in the United States in the 1800s, and it advocated suppression of individualism in support of communal collectivism and federalism of political power.
Communal.
This is communal. Of communal collectivism and federalization of political power, which means they want all the power to come up to the federal government, to the United States government. So a federal government is actually not a good thing, in the sense that it means when you have a federal government, that means that they're taking the power and pulling it up to the top. And they started, which means they pulled it away from states, which means they pulled it further away from the people. Mm-hmm. When you do that, you pull it further away from the people. So, and then when he goes on, he says the populists merged into the Democratic Party in the 20th century.
Well, don't get too deep into the article because I don't want that to be our content for the night. But
no, I know, but the fact that little piece, that little piece of information, that little piece of historical fact, it tells you what's happened to the Democrat Party these days, because what's happened is that populist group had, kind of merged into the Democrat Party, and then it grew from within the party. And now it's what you're seeing is the left side of the party, which is the remnant of the original, that original remnant of the populace in the Democrat Party has grown up to become the power in the Democrat Party. And it's forced. That's why people who were normally considered moderates in the Democrat Party have moved over to the Republican Party or moved out to
Tea Party,
to independents and things like that, to move away from the Democrat Party because they don't believe that either. And those numbers are very, very evident in Kentucky because the Republican Party continues to grow. We're at I think 44%. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head now. Democrat Party's down to about 41% of the in Kentucky. Now in Meade County, we are at 50. We are right around 51% of the voters, and the Democrat Party has dropped to about 38% of the voters in Meade County. So, which is it's just a telling thing. And this article, this submitted article by John Clower was was just telling you a little piece of the history. Of how that came about. So I agree. We don't want to make that our topic, but
go check it out.
Go check it out. It's a very interesting read, and I would like to hear more from John Clower on some of this. I think it'd be an interesting
person reach out, have him on our show.
It'd be nice to have him on, and I'd like to get a little bit of his wisdom and his little bit of knowledge. Maybe. And I was thinking about this. I would like to maybe.
Do you think Meade County citizens think that there's going to be a fair election for this next presidency? What do you think that the temperature check is? I mean, I know we'll have a solid presence and we'll do a great job in our county, but a lot of people during the presidential election, they feel like their vote doesn't count.
Really and truly, I'm really more focused on this year's election. We talk about 2024 all over the place. But there's an election right now that is going to affect us
2 months
more than the president's going to affect us.
Absolutely.
If we have to deal with Andy Bashir, Andy Biden, or whatever you want to call him, if we have to deal with him for another 4 years, it's not going to be a good thing for Kentucky. He has sued. The fact that we have a supermajority helps us has saved this Commonwealth.
Sure,
it's put us in a position to attract more jobs by bringing in better paying businesses. They're getting the tax code under control, but they do this without Andy Bashir.
Yeah,
he vetoes most of these bills. Now he'll go. You're going to see him top. I've signed 601 bills, right?
But we saw that live on our podcast at Fancy Farm.
Yeah, he'll say that, and it's like, well, go look at what he signed.
Yeah,
right. There's a lot of fluff in what he signed, and I'm working on an article for our paper to kind of like detail that more. I'm also working on an article about
sneak
peek. Right now. Yeah, sneak peek. I'm also working on an article right now about.
So you heard it here live. We're about to go out with another Meade Truth.
That's right. Meade Truth paper is going to come to your door.
Your door. Every door in Meade County.
Yep. And we've got possibly some surprises of some other things going on along those trails. So stay tuned. We're going to hopefully we're going to not just maybe it's going to be a little different than before, but it's going to be the same paper as far as we're going to give you content. We're going to educate you first.
Yeah.
Our goal is always to educate you, to make you think, and then discuss things, and so that we can come to conclusions. I'm not going to try to
go vote.
Say
make your decision in the voting booth.
So we talked about term limits, and we're going to get back to that real quick, but. We're talking about term limits, but I don't expect that you're going to take my word for it. I'm expecting that. I'm just trying to make people think about what a term limit means, and there's not just a positive thing, because people get so focused on the right here, right now, and I feel like I'm screaming from the rooftops that no, I'm not being heard.
Right.
And so if I'm not being heard, then I just need to destroy what's there. And if you destroy what's there, right, by term limiting the good, you're going to throw the good out with the bad. And that becomes a problem because right now that means Jamie Comer's going to go away. Right? If you term limit, Jamie Comer's going to go away. Brett Guthrie's going to go away. Rand Paul's going to go away. You know?
Well, then I was right. You end corruption because nobody will be on there long enough to get caught.
But what's the corruption?
I'm just kidding. I get what you're saying. I mean, Mark, you bring great arguments. It's something for people to think about. I just, right now, the thing that frustrates, I think, me as a person.
And I think you're not alone.
Yeah, no.
You're definitely not alone.
I'm not alone, but I'm tired of the divisiveness in our country.
Oh, me too.
I want to be able to sit down at a table with friends, regardless of their political beliefs, and be able to have a conversation about what's in the best interest for our country and our people. I don't think that it's right that we have open borders and that 3 million plus, I don't know, it's like 30 something million of people flooded in. And I just the crime, man. I mean, just the
and they're complaining
the drugs.
Did you heard Mayor Adams up in New York, right? Did you hear that?
No.
Oh my gosh. It's the Trump like people that are causing the influx of it's the Trump like people that are causing the influx of immigrants into New York.
Really?
Well, because there's
we're not going to let it stay in Texas
because he says there's 50,000 people, 50,000 immigrants just like I think a month or in the last month or maybe it's this year or whatever. But I heard this just to give you I was watching this on Fox News and some of the stuff. Maybe it wasn't Fox News. Maybe it was one of the other. I think I might have saw this on YouTube. But I'll try to get the reference for you guys later. So this is not from me, but I'm quoting from. But it was his speech. It was him saying it. But there's only been like 10,000 people bused to New York. Mm-hmm. The other 40,000 have come on their own because they've welcomed them there. They're a sanctuary city.
He says Mayor of New York has condemned Biden for not providing funding for.
He didn't condemn Biden. He condemned the federal government, and it's blaming the Republicans. He's blaming the Trump Republicans
who have sent them for asylum in New York City.
Yeah.
And he said he made it during a town hall meeting at Upper West Side. But anyway,
that's crazy. They want it both ways.
Yeah, you can't have it. So why are we? But again, my point is, you have 30-something million going to weigh. We're printing money. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly, and I'm concerned about the future of everyone of the United States of America.
Yeah, I mean,
financially, I see families struggling right now. It's very difficult.
Well, that's another important piece, and I don't know if I'll be able to get an article for this for the papers for the papers coming up for this, but I would like to see if there's somebody out there that wants to write an article, I'd like to have some help with that. It's about what is the cost today of the inflation, right? We were somewhat Kathy and I have been somewhat insulated from inflation. The inflation, don't get me wrong,
right?
Every time you go out to eat, it's $50, right? It used to be Kathy and I could go out to eat for like $13, $14. Now it's like we go to eat. It's just the two of us. It's $30, and it's not like we're getting huge meals. It's like a burger, fries, and maybe a milkshake.
Yeah.
Right. And it used to be we could get that for $15, and now it's $30.
Your milkshake makes all the boys in the yard. No, I'm just kidding.
So, my goodness,
that's bad.
Oh my goodness,
he went there.
Oh, well, but anyway,
let's talk about because I know we got to roll here.
Yeah,
too long, but
we've already started.
We started.
We're already.
We
started way late.
That's all right. So. But hey, we talked about term limits. We had some fun. We're glad to be back. But realistically, we are gearing up. The Republican GOP is gearing up to start pumping out the paper. start knocking on doors and some other stuff that's going to be happening
Yep.
here in the near future. You'll probably hear some radio ads a lot pump up, but we are coming to a critical time for our state, and that
It is.
a
We have
gubernatorial
got to
race.
vote. We've got to put this. This is the best slate of candidates the Republican Party has ever had, and these are all people who are working hard for Kentucky. You have Allison Ball, who's running for auditor. She's term limited out as the treasurer. So she's moving. She's hoping to move over to continue serving in the auditor's capacity. You have Mark Metcalf is running. He is running for treasurer, and then you have Russell Coleman for attorney general. He's going to be an excellent attorney general. And then you have Jonathan Shell running for ag commissioner. And he doesn't get more. You don't get much more country than Jonathan Shell.
No,
he is a farmer's farmer. He is if you see him out and about, he's more likely to be in. I don't think I've ever seen him in a suit. I'm sure he owns one somewhere, but he's always in usually in a t-shirt and jeans because that's what represents. That's what represents him. It's about getting out and working hard, and not about just not just taking things for granted and such. He gets out and works hard. So let's see, I missed one here. So Russell Coleman. Attorney General is. That's I said that Russell Coleman. Who did I miss? Obviously Daniel Cameron. I wanted to get to him last. Which, by the way, if anyone needs a Daniel Cameron sign for their yard, we do have them in stock now. The Meade County Republican Party did get some in, and we bought them ourselves. So we are hoping that we can get some donations in to help us pay for that. So if anybody wants one, I'm not going to deny anybody a sign if they really want one. But we're hoping that we can get like a $5 donation or something to help us pay for them, so we can go ahead and put some other signs out and things for some.
And
of the
they're
other
ready and available. So
they are
reach
ready
out to
and
us.
available. Just
You can
reach out
message
to
us. You can message us on this program, or you could call the phone.
Yeah, 270-945-3418. That is the Meade County Republican Party line. So just give us a call.
It's kind of a big deal. I mean, you're going to pick your governor. And I will tell you, go back and watch the podcast of Fancy Farm.
Yeah.
If Brashear really cared about all the candidates that were running on the Democratic side, he would have stayed for the whole thing. If you look at the Republican seats, when we kept the cameras on the whole show, no commercials, no KCET, whatever breaks or nothing like that. It's all brought to you live from the Meade Truth. And every one of our folks were sitting up there in seat, to include your federal representatives and all of the state candidates. They stayed.
They were solid.
The entire show. They are all a formal front of people ready to put it on.
Michael Adams was the one I was trying to get out, trying to think of. So, and it's because he's the only. I think he's the only one that's not changing.
Incumbent.
He's the only one that's an incumbent that's staying in. So, and I know there's a lot of people who have said, "Oh, well, Michael Adams did this or that." Listen, I think he's done a really good job as the Secretary of State. He has revitalized the web access and the communication. Yes, the voter rolls. We were, he had to work on that. You got to remember he was sued. He was sued by Andy Beshear when he tried to clean up the voter rolls back in the day, and because they wanted to make sure they kept all the people who were not active voters on the rolls. Whatever reason that the Democrats wanted that, they sued to make that happen, and because they needed another year or something like that to get the communication out. So he went through that. So they went through. They were sued. They pulled back, and they went through. There's people talking about the fact that we were on ERIC, which is that I think it's called ERIC, which is a system that's a state-to-state system that allows you to share voter information so that if somebody moves. The idea behind it is that if somebody moves to another state, that shows up, and then now you can remove that person from yours. But, there's been some flaws found in it. And so a lot of states have pulled out, and Kentucky is now pulling out. So, but yes, we were on there, but it wasn't because, it's like one of those things where you give something a shot, you find out there's a problem, well, now you pull out. And that's where that's at. So I think that, and there's some few things that Mr. Adams has done that that maybe aren't exactly he the one person wanted to recount when they were beaten handily, and they still wanted to do a recount, and he stopped it. Well, I agree, he shouldn't have stopped it. Right, yeah. I agree with that. I don't think that was his purview. If the campaign wants to pay for a recount, let them waste the time, because once you did that, then you can move forward. I also understand why he did it, because there's no reason to put everybody through all that just because you don't like the result, right? And it's not about that. So you have to be really cautious about that. So anyway, hey, Tucker Days is coming up Saturday.
Big day.
So I think everybody should go downtown Brandenburg and hang out and celebrate celebrate the life of a young man who lost his life very abruptly and tragically.
Well, and I want to talk about that for a real quick second. There's a great article in the paper about that too. If you're not from here and you just got here, get the Mead paper. Talks about it, and hats off to Sheriff Wimpy for this year after year putting this together, and his wife. Because it's tragic, and recently having gone through the process of obtaining children that are from family and getting them out of a bad situation and putting them in a good situation, the work he did to get the bill passed it's life-changing, folks, and anything that we can do to create a great life for a child, even if they're family members.
We should all strive for that.
We should all strive for that.
Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. We should always be trying to figure out how do we make the lives of our children better. And
this is a great event to celebrate. So get out there and go show your face and bring your children. There's lots of free hot dogs. Shameless plug to the jailer and to Ray's Ford. They'll be serving hot dogs and buns and water and a bag of chips. So free food.
Come down. Everybody see y'all down there.
And then keep your eyes peeled for the Mead Truth. The paper is coming out.
It'll be in your mailbox. And then don't forget, third Monday of the month is the Republican Party meeting out here at the old train station master's house.
There you go. We call it the train station.
We call it the train station only because we watch Yellowstone.
Yeah, I know.
And it's funny.
Whoa, little missy.
All right. Again, hey, shout out to Scott. Congrats on the grandbaby. And you guys have a great rest of your week, and God willing, we'll be back next week.
Yeah. Hey, good talk.
I had a good time.
It's a real good show right there, man.
It was really nice. I don't know what you're saying.
It was a good show.
Other than your sneeze,
Well, I broke my back with that.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I see.